Hello, everyone. Today we're going to consider expressions of love in opera. Love has been an integral part of opera from the very beginning. The first opera from which we have a score and libretto, Orfeo by Claudio Monteverdi, written in 1607, is the story of love between Orfeo, Orpheus, and Eurydice. Various kinds of love, romantic, parental, family, forbidden, have remained essential ingredients of opera to this day. We are going to sample expressions of love from operas composed in the 17th through 20th centuries. We begin with Monteverdi, who was already a famous composer in 1607 when he wrote Orfeo. In 1642, 1 year before his death at age 76, he wrote what many regard as his masterpiece, La Incoronazione di Poppaea, the Coronation of Poppaea. This was the first opera based on historical events and not on mythology, which was the initial standard subject matter of opera. In this work, Monteverdi compresses into a single day's actions events that, in fact, took place over a period of 7 years. The basic plot is simple. The emperor of Rome, Nero, is in love with Poppaea, who is the wife of Ottone. Nerone banishes Ottone, divorces his own wife, and makes Poppaea his empress, a position she had coveted. The role of Poppaea is sung by a soprano, here Maya Pearson. Nerone is sung by a mezzo-soprano, here Sarah Connolly. In operas composed in the Baroque era, which spanned the period from 1600 to about 1750, heroic male roles generally were assigned to female-sounding voices. These roles were written for castrati, men who had been castrated before puberty to preserve their high voices. When a castrato was not available, a female soprano or mezzo-soprano usually was substituted. At the conclusion of the opera, Nerone and Poppaea celebrate the success of his machinations and her elevation to the position of empress in the aria Por te miro, I Behold You. This is perhaps the first great love duet in opera history. It is an example of a da capo aria, a form common to Baroque opera. A da capo aria consists of 3 sections: an A section, which establishes a certain tempo and mood, a B section with different text and offering a somewhat different tempo and mood, and then the repeat of the A section by returning to the top or head, the capo, of the aria. In this repeat, the singer generally adds vocal embellishments such as trills, runs, and arpeggios, as he or she determines. The embellishments are not written in the musical score. As you listen to Por te miro, notice how the similarity of the voices results in beautiful blending. The melody is lyrical, with long legato, that is, smoothly connected, phrases with very few, if any, large leaps in pitch. These are typical characteristics of operatic love music, as we will continue to see and hear in a variety of contexts and in a variety of expressions of love. The words of Por te miro speak of Poppaea and Nerone's love for and devotion to each other. But a few darker undertones arise. Nero, after all, was not exactly a good guy. In historical fact, not long after this celebration, Nero kicked the pregnant Poppaea to death. This aftermath is suggested in the phrases "no more sorrow" and "no more dying" by musical dissonances on the words sorrow and dying.
Ist
We move now to the 18th century, still in the Baroque era, and George Frederick Handel's opera Giulio Cesare, first performed in 1724. Mythology remained the principal subject matter for opera, but Handel, as did Monteverdi in Poppaea, used historical events as the basis for this work. The principal roles are Cleopatra and Caesar. In keeping with Baroque practice, Caesar is sung by a high voice. Here, our friend, the mezzo-soprano Sarah Connolly. Cleopatra is sung by Danielle Denise, a soprano. The plot is somewhat long and complicated, but for our purposes, it can be boiled down to the following. Cleopatra and her brother Ptolemy jointly rule Egypt, but Cleopatra wants sole possession of the throne. She induces and seduces Caesar to form an alliance with her to oust Ptolemy. Caesar's army defeats Ptolemy, who is killed in battle. Caesar and Cleopatra celebrate their victory and sing of their love for each other in a duet in da capo form. As in Poppaea, the similarity of the voices of the two characters produces gorgeous blending. Notice the lyrical portion at the beginning, and then the lilting dance-like melody used here and often in opera to reflect happiness. Lastly, notice the ornamentation the singers add in the repeat of the A section. We remain in the 18th century with two expressions of love from the operas of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. In Don Giovanni, which premiered in 1787, the Don is a voracious womanizer with no conscience. His servant, Leporello, describes the Don's conquests in Italy, Germany, France, Turkey, and Spain as totaling 2,065. In one scene of the opera, the Don and Leporello join a celebration of the engagement of the lovely Zerlina, a country girl, to the peasant Mazzetto. The Don orders Leporello to take Mazzetto and the other celebrants to the Don's nearby villa, leaving him alone with Zerlina. The Don's seduction skills and lustfulness are evident in the duet that follows. The Don is sung by Rodney Gilfrey and Zerlina by Liliana Nicotenu.
In questo istante io ti voglio sposar. Certo io. Quel casinetto è mio, soli saremo, e la gioiello mio. Ci sposeremo, la ci darem la mano, la mi dirai di sì. Vedi non è lontano, partiam ben mio da qui. Vorrei e non vorrei, mi trema un poco il cuore, felice versarei, ma può burlarmi ancor Vieni, mio bel diletto, mi fa pietà, Mazzetto, io cangerò tua sorte. Presto, non son più forte, non son più forte. Vieni, vieni, ci darem la mano. Vorrei e non vorrei, la mi dirai di sì. Mi trema un poco il cuore, partiam ben io da qui. Può burlarmi vieni, mio bel io cancerò tua sorte. Non sono più forte. Andiam, andiam. Andiam, andiam, mio bene, a ristorare le pene d'ogni gente amor. Andiam, andiam, mio bene, a ristorare le pene d'ogni gente amor.
Mozart's final opera, The Magic Flute, premiered in 1791. The plot is complicated, but among the characters are Papageno, a bird catcher, and the love of his life, Papagena. They have been separated, and Papageno reluctantly contemplates suicide if she doesn't return to him. When she appears, they sing this delightful duet. Papageno is Detlev Roth, and our Papagena is Gail Leroy.
Klinget, Glöckchen, klinget, schaff mein Mädchen hier. Klinget, Glöckchen, klinget, bring mein Weibchen hier. Klinget, Glöckchen, klinget, schaff mein Mädchen hier. Klinget, Glöckchen, klinget, bring mein Weibchen hier. Klinget, Glöckchen, klinget, schaff mein Weibchen hier. Bring sie hier, mein Mädchen hier, mein Weibchen hier.
The 19th century was the high watermark for romantic love duets and bel canto operas, written by a variety of composers from a variety of national operatic traditions. The phrase bel canto means beautiful singing. Although often identified with elaborate ornamentation in the vocal line, bel canto opera also emphasizes long, beautiful phrases.
So you want to start that segment again?
Okay. Is there a way to turn that off? Okay, just start over?
Yep, start after the clip and then just start whatever.
Okay. The 19th century was the high water mark for romantic love duets and bel canto operas written by a variety of composers from a variety of national operatic traditions. The phrase bel canto means beautiful singing. Although often identified with elaborate ornamentation in the vocal line, bel canto opera also emphasizes long, beautiful phrases and requires superb breath control in addition to flexibility in the voice. Vincenzo Bellini is one of the greatest composers of bel canto operas. His 1835 work, I Puritani, The Puritans, is a rarity in the opera world in that it has a happy ending. The setting is England. Lord Arthur Talbot is loyal to the Stuarts. On the day of his wedding to Elvira, he learns that Queen Henrietta, the widow of the Stuart King Charles I, is imprisoned and about to be executed. Without any explanation or notice to Elvira, he races off to save the Queen. After thinking she has been abandoned, Elvira goes mad. After Talbot returns and explains his absence, she regains her senses, and the opera ends with this beautiful duet. Nina McChase sings Elvira, and Juan Diego Flores is Talbot. Giuseppe Verdi's 1859 opera, Un ballo in maschera, A Masked Ball, as originally composed, ended with the assassination of the King of Sweden. As a result of the unsuccessful real-life attempt on the life of Napoleon III, the Italian censors prohibited a work that included the murder of a monarch. To satisfy the censors, Verdi transferred the action to Boston, Massachusetts, where an English governor could be assassinated without disturbing the Italian censors. Amelia, the wife of the secretary to the governor, is in love with the governor, Gustav. During their clandestine meeting at midnight, Amelia initially rejects the governor's professions of love, but ultimately acknowledges her feelings for him. Some consider this to be Verdi's first great love duet. Placido Domingo is the governor, and Josephine Barstow is Amelia.
T'ascolti ancora rispondermi così. Strani, pubblico giallo il cuore, mi rabbia, mi d'amore, e più non sola, mi rabbia, mi d'amore più, e più non torna, e più non torna, non torna.
Sometimes love doesn't work out. Such is the case in Eugene Onegin, an 1879 Russian opera by Peter Ilyich Tchaikovsky. Tatiana, the daughter of the owner of a country estate, writes a passionate love letter to Onegin. After receiving the letter, he comes to the estate and tells Tatiana that love and marriage just are not for him. 2 years later, Tatiana is married to Onegin's cousin, Prince Gremin. Onegin has become madly in love with Tatiana. After seeing her at a ball in the prince's home, he writes her a love letter and then appears at the home, trying to win her love. Tatiana is tempted, but remains loyal to her husband. Anna Netrebko is Tatiana, and Marius Kwiecien sings Onegin.
Заставить? Нет! Нет! А минутно видит вас, повсюду следовать за вами. Улыбку, движение взгляд, ловит влюбленными глазами, внимать вам много, понимать душой все ваши совершенства. Пред вами страстных муках замирать, бледнее и гаснуть, вот блаженство, вот одна мечта моя, одно блаженство.
Где в вашем сердце есть и гордость, и прямая честь?
Я не могу оставить вас.
И вы должны, я вас прошу, меня оставить.
Оставьтесь!
Зачем скрывать? Зачем лукавить?
Татьяной стала.
Нет, нет, прошлого не воротить. Я дала теперь другому, судьба моя уж решена. Я буду век ему верна.
О, не гони меня, ты любишь, и не оставлю я тебя. Ты жизнь свою напрасно сгубишь, то воля неба ты моя. Вся жизнь твоя была залогом соединения со мной, знай. Тебе я послан Богом, до гроба я хранитель твой. Не можешь ты меня отринуть, ты для меня должна покинуть постель и дом, и суд, и смерть. Нет другой дороги. Нет, не можешь ты меня отринуть. Обещай моя,
Although, as we've just seen, sometimes love doesn't work out, at other times, love conquers all. In Jules Massenet's 1884 opera Manon, love overwhelms feelings of betrayal. The title character is a 15-year-old country maiden who makes her first journey outside her home in order to enter a convent. Her Although, as we've just seen, sometimes love doesn't work out, at other times love conquers all. In Jules Massenet's 1884 opera Manon, love overwhelms feelings of betrayal. The title character is a 15-year-old country maiden who makes her first journey outside her home in order to enter a convent. Her stagecoach is greeted by her cousin, who promptly leaves her to gamble with his friends. While she is alone, the handsome, courtly, and aristocratic Chevalier des Grieux approaches and engages her in conversation. Their relationship becomes increasingly romantic as their conversation continues, and des Grieux convinces Manon to flee with him to Paris. The Chevalier's father, Count des Grieux, strongly disapproves of the relationship and is determined to separate the couple. A nobleman friend of the Count tells Manon that her lover will be abducted and that, if she refrains from warning him, she will receive a fortune, enabling her to live the rest of her life in luxury. Otherwise, she will be doomed to a life of poverty and misery. She chooses luxury, and the Chevalier des Grieux is abducted by his father. Eventually, the Chevalier becomes a clergyman at a seminary. A few years later, driven by love, Manon finds him there, and this scene follows. Nathalie Dessay portrays Manon, and Rolando Villazon is the Chevalier. No presentation about love would be complete without La Boheme by Giacomo Puccini, which premiered in 1896. Rudolfo is a poet living with 3 artist friends in a garret in Paris. One evening, after his friends have gone out to dinner, he hears a knock on the door. It is Mimi, who lives in the same building. She first asks Rudolfo to relight her candle, and then, when she is about to leave, discovers that she has lost the key to her room. The 2 of them search for the key on the floor. Their hands touch, and they instantly fall in love. Only in opera. Notice how the melodies of this duet consist of long legato phrases without large leaps in pitch. As we have seen, this is typical of love duets. Notice also how the melodies soar, a characteristic of Puccini's music. Angela Gheorghiu sings the role of Mimi, and Ramon Vargas portrays Rudolfo.
O soave fanciulla, o dolce viso di vite circo da fuso e valunar. In terra viso il sogno chiamare Sarebbe così dolce restar qui, c'è freddo fuori. E al ritorno dammi il braccio, mia piccina. Che m'ami
For our last operatic expression of love, we move into the 20th century. George Gershwin's Porgy and Bess premiered in 1935 and is considered by many to be the first great American opera. The setting is Charleston, South Carolina. Bess is a former drug addict and prostitute, and Porgy is a crippled beggar. They fall in love. By the end of the opera, Bess's drug addiction will have returned. She will leave for New York City, and Porgy will follow her. For the moment, however, their love is fresh, and that love is all that matters as they sing their duet, Bess, You Is My Woman Now. The New York Times music critic Anthony Tomasini, in his glowing review of the Metropolitan Opera's new production of Porgy and Bess, commented that, quote, "There is no more moving or consequential love duet than this in all of opera," close quote. Lakita Mitchell is Bess, and Eric Owens is Porgy.
Bess, you is my woman now. You is, and you must laugh and sing and dance for two instead of all done. Oh,
I hope you enjoyed our exploration of operatic expressions of love. Perhaps you found one that you could use one day or another. Thank you.